rid of other things beyond office furniture. So we can help get rid of pretty much anything in an office space before it's considered construction material. So we've gone so far as to help our customers get rid of ceiling tiles, help them get rid of carpet tiles, help them get rid of other office supplies like printers, TVs, whiteboards. So basically anything you find in the office space. It's not just exclusive to furniture. So when we were designing this program about 2 years ago, we really wanted to pinpoint a few program goals that really define what we're trying to accomplish. So first and foremost, furniture is a very large investment for anyone opening up an office. So we're trying to extract the maximum value or some of that value back when furniture is decommissioned. And so we do that kind of two different ways. The first way to extract value from a furniture is monetary value. So we can help our customers sell their furniture. The other type of value is social value. And with social value, we're trying to impact local charities by facilitating donations for our customers. And I think when it comes to furniture decommissioning, sometimes, although less and less, there is sometimes this perception that someone will come and take your office furniture away from you for free. The same way you have Habitat for Humanity come to your home. But unfortunately, the industry is not like that anymore. It might have been a decade or 2 decades ago, liquidators would come in and take the most valuable things and for free. But unfortunately, the industry has changed a lot. And especially now, because of COVID, the secondary furniture market has really, really changed. I'll dive into that a little bit later, but just something to note. Our second program goal is to be a one-stop shop decommissioning solution. And so from a project management standpoint, we try to have this program include everything that you need when it comes to decommissioning. So we book the crew, we book the trucks. I go so far as to work with the project managers or GCs to book the elevators, book the loading docks. So from the beginning of the project to the end of the project, we take care of everything. We don't just come in like some liquidators and just take the most valuable things and leave the scraps. We leave the area in a broom swept condition. Sometimes we spend even half a day cleaning, and we're really proud of that. And it helps us build rapport with the PMs and the GCs. Our third goal is to minimize negative environmental impact. So that's really one of our main mandates of this program, is we want to ensure that when we're decommissioning the furniture, we're avoiding landfill at all costs. And so, like I kind of briefly mentioned, we do that by helping sell, donate, and recycle the furniture. And then in our reporting, we create a lot of really cool environmental metrics. I'll dive into that a little bit later, but some of them are very visual, like how many trees you're able to plant with this decommission. And then the last program goal is to create a positive social impact. And so we do that by impacting local charities. And so when we do a donation on behalf of our customers, we try to keep it within a 100-kilometer radius of site, but also there's an opportunity for the customer to pick what kind of charity they'd like to work with. If they have a mandate of helping a women's organization, we can help them find a charity like that. And if they don't have relationships with charities or NGOs in their area, this is also a really good opportunity to help facilitate that and help grow the impact they make locally. And one thing that I learned about furniture is that, and this surprised me, but it's true, as employees, we get attached to the desk that we sit at. And this is a really great change management tool, because when we facilitate a donation and we go to the charity and we take photos of, Sally's desk being used at this charity, and she sees that, she gets really excited and happy that her furniture has a second life. And in fact, more and more recently, as I'm talking to these PMs and GCs, they're telling me, we reached out to you because the employees were asking, what's happening with the furniture? And no employer really wants to be known as a wasteful one, as one that sends furniture to landfill. So from a change management, it's also really good, and it has a really great story for the employees. So this is a high level of basically how it works, and I touched upon these categories. So we treat every project uniquely because it's a unique floor, it's a unique building. So we always ask to come to site. And during COVID, this is actually a great time for us to come to site because a lot of spaces are vacant right now. So if you know of a decommissioning that's happening sometime in the future, we're already working on 2021, 2020, 2022 projects because a lot of people are taking the opportunity of having empty spaces. So we will come to site, we'll take a look at the furniture, we will take photos, we will take measurements, we'll ask for existing floor plans. And once we finish our site tour, which takes, I would say, about 20 minutes per floor, we will take all that information back with us and we will create a project plan. We will find a home for all the furniture, we'll create a quote, and then we will present to the designer or the customer, the PM, the GC, whoever. So we do a lot of background work into the proposal at no cost to the customer. And we do that because in this industry, it's really hard to predict a price. It's really hard to predict a square foot price because every building, every loadout condition is different. One of the examples I use, because we get asked very frequently to provide a cost or a average cost per desking system. And so at the beginning of COVID, we were doing that because of the restrictions about going to site. And once we came to site to do the project, it turned out we had to push it 800 meters through a mall. And so that really added the time and the amount of labor we needed. So that's a really good example I'm going to use from now on because it almost doubled the cost of the project. So that's why we don't provide a per square foot cost or a per desking system cost because there's so much other things to take into consideration when you're loading out from a site. So one thing I want to add is if a customer or if an organization has a goal to, just impact local charities, we don't have to sell or we don't have to recycle. We can focus on just donation. So this program is very customizable. We have some customers who just want to focus on donation because that's part of their mission. So we do that. So this doesn't necessarily have to follow this order. This is just the most common order that we find people would like to focus their furniture decommission on. So first and foremost, we try to sell the furniture because this is where we get the most monetary value back. So if the furniture is 5 years old or newer, I recommend that you would let me know or the customer would let me know because we would just walk the space already with a liquidator to have a good understanding of the appraisal of the furniture. And if we are able to facilitate a liquid offer, 100% of the funds will go back to the customer. I did mention that the secondary market for furniture is really changing. We were thinking panels would make a comeback and that people would be more interested in purchasing panels. Unfortunately, that's not the case. I think, in fact, panel systems are even less valuable than before. However, what is really valuable are seating, pedestals, and also small desks. So if there's any type of desk that can stand on its own without a panel system, very valuable right now because liquidators are buying them and then selling them for people's home offices. And a purchase offer, I would say a large purchase offer happens about 5 to 10% of the time, but most projects have small liquid offers. And thus far, I've completed over 150 decommissions. We have had about only two projects where the funds offset the cost of everything else and the customer was able to make money with the decommission. So almost always there's some sort of cost to decommissioning. And again, that's whether you go through DIVERT or that's whether you're hiring a crew and throwing everything to landfill. But our goal is always when we do these decommissions to be as close to the same cost as you sending it to landfill. So the next category is donation. And we're really proud of what we do in this category because we really go above and beyond to help out the charities and the local NGOs. So when we donate, again, I mentioned we try to do everything locally, but we install the furniture for the charities as well. So we don't burden them with the cost of that. We also do a transfer of title. And so what that does is that takes off the liability of the customer and we take on the liability. So if something was to happen at the charity with that piece of furniture, the customer doesn't have to worry about getting into any legal trouble. We also do an appraisal of the furniture donated. So the customer will get a charitable tax receipt of the furniture they donate, and this can be quite substantial, especially in large decommissions where a large portion goes to donation. I've had quite a few projects right now where we've appraised the furniture over 100,000, over 200,000. So when you look at that and you can get 20 to 30% of that back when you do your taxes, it's quite a substantial return. And eventually you actually might be able to pay for the project that way. You just have to wait till you do taxes. One other thing that we do that kind of differentiates us from other organizations that do decommissions is that when we donate furniture, we actually track every item and where it ended up at what charity. And the reason we do that is because when we donate furniture to charities, we ask for them to sign a right of first refusal. And so what we do is every 6 months, we reach out to the charity and we ask them if they're still using the product we donated to them. And if they say, oh, we're not using it anymore, or we don't want to use it anymore, we will come pick up the furniture from them and recycle it for them at no cost. And the reason why we do that is because we want to ensure that the furniture does not enter landfill. If 50% of a project was donation, it really isn't true landfill diversion unless you track that item to the very end, to its very end of life. So again, we go above and beyond to what anybody else in the industry is doing. And lastly, whatever we can't liquidate, whatever we can't donate, we recycle. And so with recycling, again, we go above and beyond. So we take apart every piece and component of the furniture. So if a chair was broken, for example, we're not able to sell it or donate it, we would actually take it apart, the fabric, the foam, and the plastics and separate them from the metals and then send it to the recycler. Because if it's very labor intensive for the recycler to take it apart themselves, they will not do it. And they're just gonna throw it to landfill. So this is our way of ensuring that the materials that are recyclable can in fact be recycled. And we work with local recyclers, and also they provide us weight tickets, and that's how we create a lot of the reporting. And like I mentioned, we do not send items to recycling unless they're broken or in really bad condition. Because when you think about task chairs, there's almost always a school or an organization that can use them unless they are broken. So this is the overall process that the furniture goes through. I think I'll take us a tiny break now to see if anyone has any questions thus far.
You can either unmute to ask a question or you can type something in chat. And make sure chat is addressed to either everyone or myself or Chase team. This is really great information. So we have a comment. Thanks,
awesome.
Judith.
Okay, no problem. I will continue. I encourage you to come up with questions though at the end because that's what makes this fun. Okay, so I am a one-person team. As you can imagine, there is a lot of logistics and behind the work that happens for every decommission. So we partnered with a company called CSR Eco Solutions, and they're a social enterprise. So they focus a lot of their efforts in supporting local charities and local recyclers. So they're not a for-profit traditional type of company. And that's why Technion has chosen to work with them. So if your customer already works with CSR Eco Solutions, they'll gladly transfer that relationship over to Technion. because it's mutually beneficial. We handle the forward-facing customer part of it, and they do a lot of the background stuff. So CSR Eco Solutions has been working in this industry for over 10 years. They've completed over 4,000 decommissions worldwide. So during that time, they've been able to accumulate over 100,000 charity wish lists in North America. And so we lean on them to match our customers up with charities locally. And we also lean on them for their relationship with recyclers because they use a lot of specialized recyclers. And they also help us out with some of the reporting. So if you hear of your customer that works with CSR Eco Solutions, it'll be a very easy transition for them to work with us at Technion. But also, if you hear of there's other competitors in the space, like Green Standards. So if your customer does work for Green Standards, I would encourage them to reach out and research CSR Eco Solutions and DIVERT to see the differences and to see where we kind of take the decommissions to a next level. So when we think about furniture and where this program is really beneficial is when we talk a little bit about the circularity. And if you look at that pink square, that's where DIVERT is. So we have the end of life and we have the impact report. And any recycling of the materials goes back into the mills. And so if a customer purchases Technion furniture, but also decommissions Technion with Technion, we're able to do some very interesting calculations about the circularity of the new product they purchased. Because the materials that Technion uses and our procurement process, we almost always buy recycled first. And most metals in Ontario, where our manufacturing sites, when you purchase them, they are recycled already. So we're able to do some really cool calculations about the recycled content in the new furniture they purchase. But also, I'm just going to do a tiny bit of an ad. If you have a customer that's interested in taking the circularity to a next level, we have a program called Extend. Sometimes we call it DIVERT Plus, but what it does is it also adds on asset management. It also adds on the move, adds, and changes and the product maintenance. And we keep track of all of that in the reporting in addition to the end of life. And for our customers that use this program, this circular program, we're able to extend the life cycle of their furniture by about 7 to 11 years. So something to keep in mind. If you are interested in that, we can chat about it sometime. You can shoot me an email. So just a little bit of an ad for that program. So one of the great things and that differentiates Technion is that we have this decommissioning program in-house. A lot of our competitors and other manufacturers, they offer decommissioning, but what they do is they just send their customers to another organization. So they send them to Green Standards, or they send them to CSR Eco Solutions. And because we have this program in-house, we're able to get amazing feedback from the crew, from the installers, and also from our recyclers. And what that allows us to do is to ultimately design a more sustainable product. So after every job, we reach out to our installers and ask them, if it was Technion furniture, we ask them, what was hard to take apart? What materials did you struggle with? And they give us that feedback and we send it off to the design team. And also we do that with our recyclers. We ask them for feedback on a quarterly basis. What's really hard to recycle right now in the industry? And I've used this example a lot of times, but it really is a problem with North American infrastructure when it comes to recycling, is black plastics are really hard to recycle. And so I brought that to our director of sustainability and he brought that to our design team. And now we're working on providing recycled plastic that's unpredictable in color, but it's not black, and giving that as an option to our customers and to the designers to use. So it's really cool that we're able to ultimately use this program to create a more sustainable and environmentally friendly product. So with DIVERT, to kind of summarize some of the benefits, is everyone wins. You save time and money. I've had at least a dozen projects where customers have come to me, we've built up the proposal, the project plan, and the quote, and we've presented it to the customer, and the customer said, I think you're a little bit too expensive. I think we can give the furniture a second life. We're going to manage this in-house. And I can tell you, it's a full-time job. If somebody isn't dedicated to a decommissioning project, chances are they will not have enough time to call local charities, to call local furniture banks, to call recyclers, to understand how to get rid of the furniture, especially if they want to do it in an environmentally friendly way. So a lot of times they'll take our project plan and try to execute it on their own. And then they'll call me and say, Michelle, we've done 40%, we've done 60%, but we're having a really hard time getting rid of the rest. Can you help us out? But unfortunately, the cost goes up because the larger the quantities we work with from the beginning, it's more cost effective. So that's why I always try to urge our customers to remember, you will save time and money if you just outsource this component, unless you have someone working on it full time. And then if you do, we'll gladly support you. Also from a CSR and an engagement and social media standpoint, we help our customers sell their story and sell their accomplishments to their stakeholders. So we create social media posts. We've entered certain customers into competitions, and we've nominated them for awards. We help them write up something about their accomplishments for their yearly sustainability report. So we're really there to help our customers highlight their achievements. And we do this at no cost because we're really proud of what we help them accomplish. And then for the really forward-thinking and green customers, we also can help facilitate the purchase of carbon credits to offset whatever had to end up in landfill. So for example, if you had 8% of furniture that ended up in landfill, and it was however many tons of furniture, we can help our customer purchase carbon credits to bring that number down to 0% entered landfill. And then we're also able to help our customers certify their projects. So there's certain certifications, like through UL, where a customer can certify a project as zero waste, and our data is compatible with that, and we can help them do that by purchasing carbon credits. There's also a certification they offer that's like 95% diversion from landfill and 90% of landfill, so they have certain thresholds. So this is a little old, and I always acknowledge that, but I think it's really important to note that, this program has won an award, but that's not really what I'm trying to focus on here. So in 2017, we were the winners for the Corporate Citizen Award at the Remy's, and that was a really great achievement for us. However, what I really want to point out is that in 2018 and in 2019, the winners in this category were also sustainable decommissions. And so right now, I think, when you think of what we're doing, when you think of some of our competitors are doing, they are award-winning programs, but I think it just means this is going to become standard practice. And even when you think about what was happening before 2017 at the Remy's, it was called green buildings and charitable donations that were winning. So we're seeing a little bit of a change in industry, but like green buildings have kind of become the new standard and norm, I think sustainable decommissions are going to become the new standard and the norm. And one thing that I've noticed is that when I first started 2 years ago, there was no RFP or RFQ questions bundled with furniture that had to do with decommissioning. But now, more and more, we're seeing customers asking us, do you have a solution for our old furniture? Because they specifically outline that they do not want their old furniture entering landfill. So just something interesting to note, because 2 years ago, I'd never seen it. This year, so many RFQ and RFP engagements on that topic. So I did mention that once a project is complete, our customers will get a very detailed report about where all the furniture ended up. So thus far, we've been able to take off over 800 cars off the road from the projects that we've completed. And this is a tiny, tiny snapshot of all the metrics that we include. So In the report, the customer will receive an Excel report that shows the metrics they accomplished for this project. And if we've worked for the organization, we will accumulate all their past project metrics as well. And as you can see, we have some very interesting things like how many cars we were able to take off the road, how many trees were grown. And one of the very cool things is we're able to create custom metrics for certain customers that are relevant to their industry. So for example, for the banks, we can do how many ATMs we powered. We're working with a car manufacturer. So obviously the story of how many cars we take off the road is not relevant to them and their stakeholders. So instead we're able to create electric car metrics for them. So we try to help our customers to ensure that this data they receive is useful and that it does make an impact to their stakeholders or to their employees or to whoever is going to see it. So these are some of the few things that we've been able to accomplish. So, and one of the things that's not included in this dashboard is that we're also able to track reuse. So Nolan kind of mentioned that they do refurbishments. So if we were to work on a project together and a customer was to refurbish some things, but then also decommission some things, we're able to also help them track the reuse as well, because that's not entering landfill. So that's a very important and relevant metric that a lot of people forget about. One thing that I do want to note is thus far, one thing that we're really proud of is we've been able to save 35,000 items from going to landfill. And so I did mention this in elephants, that's 2,300 elephants worth of furniture and 4,000 Toyota Camrys worth of furniture that didn't enter in landfill just from the decommissions that we've been doing in the past 2 years. So this is a tiny snapshot. This is basically how the process works. So you would get a proposal that comes from me. One thing to note that it does take about 2 weeks for the proposal to come from me. There is a little bit of a time lag because of all the background work that does go into creating the project plan. So like I mentioned, we find a home for all the furniture before we even have approval from the customer to move forward, before they even see a cost. So that's why it takes a little bit of time for us. But if there is a rush for the project, please let me know, because we are able to work on really quick turnaround times. So for example, we were awarded on last Friday a project where we knew we would have to start the project this Monday and have 1 week to complete, because the customer had to be out of their lease by the end of October. So we are able to really quickly get a team together if that's necessary. We're here to make sure that our customers have the green and sustainable option, if that's what they want to pursue. So this is basically how we present this. We have this really cool metric or chart that we include in our proposal. And this is why I mentioned we present everything in our proposal and in our project reports in tons. And so this is where it gets a little bit confusing, right? Like when you think of 21 tons, that's like 6 elephants, right? So it does get a little bit confusing to think about it like this, but we break everything down by weight and by tons. And this is basically what we present to our customer when we are creating our project plan and proposal. And then if they want, we can break it down even further, how many chairs, how many desking systems are in each category before they make a decision. I'm gonna skip this slide. So these are 2 resources that I'm going to share with you. So one is the white paper and one is the brochure. And if you feel that there is any other information you would like about the program, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm here to help you. And I'm here, we don't expect you to be the expert. We're the expert in this. So feel free to reach out if you have any type of questions about this. And then in terms of the sustainability and how the reporting can be used, if there's any lead credits that your customer or a person that you know of and they're looking to use the decommissioning reporting towards that, we can help them figure out what credits they can use that towards. Again, I mentioned there's waste certifications we can provide through UL about by certifying the project as 0 waste to landfill, 95% waste to landfill. And also, if anyone reports to CDP, this program is very useful in helping you show how you're decreasing your carbon footprint. And it's very useful if you're purchasing Technion as well as decommissioning with Technion, because we're able to really show you your carbon footprint, how we've been able to decrease your carbon footprint through the purchase, but also how we've been able to decrease your carbon footprint from the decommission. And if you're just decommissioning with us, it's still very, very useful. So if you yourself report to CDP and you have Technion furniture, we'll gladly help you out. I really try to encourage everyone to reach out to me about this because I'm the one that does the reporting for Technion. So, but yeah, that's it for me. If you have any questions.
We do have some questions.
Yeah, I saw them coming in.
If you want, I can just read them out to you and then you can answer. So thank you, Michelle. That was very good information as usual. And I always get very excited when I hear this because it's just such a great program. So first question is, do you need to be purchasing new furniture from us, Technion, in order to utilize the program?
So you do not. It's a standalone. So whether you're purchasing furniture from us or Chase, it doesn't matter. This can be with a new Technion customer or existing Technion or Chase customer.
And related to that, it does not need to be Technion furniture.
Yeah.
Just to reiterate. Yeah. And because that was one of the questions, do you accept all brands? So yes. Yeah. And are there minimum or maximums?
The minimum, we just say is a 3-hour job. And so that could be just one office space, right? Anything smaller than that is just not, we'll gladly help you, but it's just not economically the best option. However, if let's say you have just a few things you want to get rid of, but you're not in a time crunch, next time we're in the area, we'll just let you know we're in the area, we have space in our truck. Do you want us to come pick up the stuff? And then in that case, it's much more affordable and then worth it, even if it's a small scope of work.
Okay, good to know. And you already answered this, but who do we contact if we want to use the program? So you can contact Michelle. You can also contact me, and because most of you have my information, and I can then introduce you to Michelle. Also, Chase has Michelle's contact, so really any of us. And you have a simplified document about this presentation. You mentioned that as well at the end. You'll have that. We have that brochure and document that we can share with all of you. Another question, are there any general cost metrics that one could discuss with clients? And I know you talked about this in the beginning, but if you could maybe reiterate, is there a cost per workstation or cost per foot?
Yeah, so we don't offer those cost estimates. I'm not sure if you missed the beginning, but it's just very hard to predict the cost because every office space is so different. However, if the customer is really hesitant about us coming to the space, but they were very interested, we can provide a high level cost based off of certain questions we would ask. So if we could see floor plans, sample photos, and understand if there's a freight elevator, but that's all the stuff we take care of on site. So it would just be, I think, more work for the customer to have to present those items to us if we can collect them ourselves. So yeah, it is hard to gauge, but that's why there's no risk and no cost for us to do all the background work for the customers, just because it's so hard for us to predict how much it's going to cost. Yeah.
Right. And has this been done in Vancouver already, meaning a full divert from start to finish?
We haven't done a divert project, but the company we work with, CSR Eco Solutions, does a lot of work in Vancouver. And actually, I think we did a few RBC projects through the Extend program in Vancouver. So it's a little bit more engaged because it's decommissioning as well as the asset management. I briefly mentioned that program.
Yeah. And just so everyone knows, Divert, when did we officially launch this? This was
officially launched. I think we did a soft launch, and I think that was our official launch like a year and a half ago.
right.
But we were always still working and doing decommissions in the background. They just weren't labeled Divert.
Right. And it's become a much easier, in a way, process, like having you on board and being able to cover everything from start to finish. Like it's just, yeah, makes it much better. Yeah. And you already answered this one. Is there a minimum project size for Divert? So you've mentioned either
3 hours, or if there's no time rush, there is no minimum.
Okay. I think that's all the questions so far. And
Tony has a question.
You want to unmute, Tony?
Yeah.
Or you want to type it? Okay, unmuting. Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was easier for me to ask. Not quite sure how to ask this question. You may have mentioned this already in your presentation, but I was wondering, everything that you recycle, going back to the manufacturing plant, are they going to be produced for new Technion furniture, or does it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So Technion is vertically integrated, but not that vertically integrated. So we don't actually own our own recycling plants. So those calculations that I was talking about, recycled content, they're more abstract because we purchase recycled and then ultimately we're recycling furniture. So it's more abstract. It's not the actual exact same metals from the exact desks, but just because we purchase already recycled metals, we're able to do that calculation.
I could just add to that, Michelle. I think one misconception, because this used to happen in our industry, it's not as if stuff is being put on a truck and then driven across the country to the Technion manufacturing facility.
Exactly.
And broken down in any way, shape, or form. It's done locally here, because that did used to happen in our industry. 8 years ago or so, when some programs were coming into place, they were driving stuff across the country, which didn't end up being very sustainable.
And does that answer your question, Tony?
Yeah, definitely. But I just have another follow-up question to that.
Yeah.
Is then I wonder, because I was looking at all the metrics, and that's really exciting because that's what really matters when we talk about sustainable design. So once you recycle all your furniture and produce new furniture, do you have a metric in place now to calculate all the embodied energy and such? And
yes.
how do you calculate that? Where's the point, like from the recycle or from the point that you taken from decommission? So
yeah, that's a really good question. So right now we're not combining those metrics in that sense, unless a customer asks for it because they recycled through Divert or decommissioned through Divert and purchased through Divert. But when it comes to how we calculate the energy input, like you mentioned, we do everything based off of our manufacturing carbon footprint. I don't know if that helps answer that.
Yeah, I think I get the idea. Thank you.
Okay. Georgie, did you want to, or it looks like we have two questions. Peter and Georgie, Peter's said, please wait. Okay, Georgie, do you want to unmute and ask your question?
Okay, sure. Thank you. So it's back to that cost thing. And I perhaps didn't phrase it correctly, but it seems to me when you're talking to a client, they've got a budget. That's the reality of it. And so, and most clients are interested in doing this. So, I mean, would you be willing to share a couple of project scenarios? So for example, you did a 3,000 square foot project. It included fairly old furniture. We needed to be recycled. It took about this many hours. This was our hourly rate versus we've just done 10,000 square feet of blah, blah, blah. And it was this much square. This was roughly the amount, or this was our hourly rate. Because then, out of that, you actually do get kind of a per square foot cost and a range, So even though the client knows it's different, at least they're kind of going, okay, I'm willing to pay $300 an hour, whatever it is for this work.
So it it's very far. So basically the average for us is between $600 to $1,200 per ton of furniture, which is very abstract, which is why we don't like to use that metric a lot. But very recently, we've been able to secure lower labor rates nationally, and we're looking at about $100 to $200 per paneling type of traditional TOS station to decommission, to take it apart, decommission it, and get rid of it completely and leave the area in a broom swept condition. And that includes costs for an electrician as well to get rid of the electrical components and also to get rid of data cabling. But it's just such a wide range. It's literally, it could be double the cost, right?
So do you charge for your own hourly time? Like, do you have an hourly rate that you charge? Or
we don't have an hourly rate. It's project by project basis.
So you just build in basically your time into this cost of demolishing or
like Technion's cost, like the project management cost?
Yeah.
It's 5% of the labor fee for the whole decommission.
Okay.
And I imagine it would vary, like, because I think you mentioned, Michelle, that, you know, sometimes the carpets involve the printer or what, you know, all the other equipment.
Yeah,
it's not just furniture. So
and exactly, it's very different. Every project is so different because there's so many different components that can be included. You know, sometimes the customer will ask us to leave out bins so everyone can throw their binders in, and then we recycle or donate the binders. So there's so many different components, which makes it so hard to provide. It's been 2 years and we haven't found the perfect way of giving us a solid range. Maybe we'll get there, I'm not sure. Maybe as we get more and more projects completed, we'll be able to like find a relevant metric. But
yeah, no, actually all of that helps. I mean, it really is just being able to have a healthy discussion about cost, right?
Yeah.
And
that's really it.
And so the process then at the start of the project would be like to like have someone do the site visit and just kind of go over what they're wanting to recycle to get or sell or donate to get the full, to get an estimate.
And that's why it's really good that we come to site, because sometimes we'll point out things that the customer didn't know we can include. We'll point out to the customer that they didn't know they could also decommission with us. So
right.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think the point I'm trying to find is enough for us as designers to get you to site.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, thank you. That's good. It's been a great presentation.
Good. Okay, so Peter has typed out his question. Just go ahead. I'm not sure I understand the question.
I think I do.
Oh, okay, good. Then
I think I do. So basically, my understanding is, that decommissioning should stand on its own, and it shouldn't have a weight when it comes to like an RFP process. And I don't think it does have a weight or points attached to it. But let's say, let me finish reading this. Yeah, and I think you're right in that sense. It wouldn't be a profit center, but what we do as an organization is we work with our dealers directly. So, if we're working with Chase, we'll work with their installers. They're able to do the labor. So from that sense, the dealer is involved and does have a stake in the project and does have an opportunity to make some money with it. But if there's no dealer involved, then that's a different story. But there has been, and we have pushed for this, we have asked for decommissions to be their own RFP or their own RFQ, because there definitely is a benefit to the customer to separate the furniture from the decommissioning. I hope that answers it.
Yeah. Okay. And Peter, feel free to reach out after too, if you want to discuss it more or have more questions. And I don't see any other questions. Does anyone have any Anything else they want to ask? Well, I'm seeing some thank yous and have a great days. So I think probably we are, oh yeah, it's 5 to 1. So Nolan, I see your visuals working now. So you're.
Yeah, so thank you everybody for joining. And as I mentioned, our next webinar will be on the 12th with regards, and it will be focusing on acoustics. We will be going to 2 a month, and we typically will be sending out the invitation a week in advance with a reminder a couple days before. Thank you everybody for coming. Enjoy the rest of your day. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any one of the 3 of us. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank
Michelle.
you. Thank you. Bye.